perfect house?
No, I'm in a hotel. I'm actually on vacation for 2 weeks. We're doing a road trip. So that's why I was like really nervous about like the whole like scheduling was so like that we could make sure that I had Wi-Fi. But so overall, good job.
All right.
Right. Imagine standing out in the snow in just a stocking cap and a coat. How about outside in the downpour without being able to go inside? How about out in 102-degree weather wearing all black? How about while 9/11 is happening right behind you and not being able to move? All of these different things are things that the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier has had to experience. Have any of you ever been to Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C.? I've been fortunate to go to Arlington 3 different times, and each time I go, I learn something new, and it ultimately has changed a lot of different ways that I think about stuff. So, a little bit of background on Arlington National Cemetery. It is the resting place to over 400,000 American soldiers who have died in battle or that have been laid to rest there. It became an official national cemetery on June 15th, 1864. It originally started with 200 acres, but now, as of 2021, it is 639. First, it was not to honor those of the fallen soldiers, but more as to serve as a place where soldiers could be laid to rest whose families were who didn't have families when they would come home from war, or whose families couldn't financially support and have a funeral, because the United States still wanted to be able to give those soldiers a place to lay to rest with the different honor. At Arlington, there are a bunch of different landmarks that we can visit. But in order to be laid to rest at Arlington, you have to be a former prisoner of war, you have to receive highest military honors, or you have to be an active or retired military personnel, or as well as someone in have military background, or someone who has had a huge impact on the United States. So going into the different famous graves, there is the JFK and then the Taft, their graves and different memorials. Arlington also has 8 different Supreme Court justices that are laid to rest there, and also has a ton of different astronauts, including the ones that were on the Apollo, the Challenger, and even John Glenn, who was the first person to orbit space. Then at Arlington, another attraction is the giant amphitheater, which is a lot more recognizable. It's pretty much just a marble amphitheater, and it's the one that you see the president talk at sometimes on like Memorial Day. And it was actually constructed in 1873, and it was made exactly for a place to where they could hold different official ceremonies. Another thing is the Arlington House. So it was constructed between 1808 and 1818 by John Pierre Curtis, and as time passed down, Robert E. Lee actually lived there with his family when he married into the George Washington family. But during the Civil War, him and his family actually left without paying a single penny for the house, and they had a lot of outstanding taxes and just stuff that they hadn't never paid for. And it oversees all of Washington, D.C. One of the most arguably popular attractions at the cemetery is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So the tomb was actually dedicated on November 11th, 1921, but it was proposed on December of 1920 to provide a place for those soldiers who they couldn't identify after they had passed away. So October the next year, France actually sent back 4 unknown remains of American soldiers, where then they were laid to rest at the Tomb of the Unknown. And so the Tomb of the Unknown is guarded by different guards, and that started in March 1926. And they are all members of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment within the United States Army. The tomb has been guarded 24/7, 365 days a year, without a second to spare since April 6, 1948. That blows my mind. But even though the tomb has been guarded for so many years, in order to become a guard, you have to go through extensive training. You have to be a guard in training for 2 years, and there's only been 400 guards total that have been through and gotten their official guard pin after the 2 years. So, and also, while the guard is at the Tomb of the Unknown, although this is a huge honor, they are not allowed to have a rank so that they are seen as a lower rank than the resting soldier, and so the soldier who is laid to rest is seen as the superior. So if you've ever seen the guard walk the actual tomb, the guard takes 21 steps in front on a black strip on the ground, and then face the east for exactly 21 seconds, then changes the position of his weapon, and this is called to the command of soldier arms. And then he faces north for 21 seconds, and then he marches back in front of the tomb, and he does this over and over and over again. So the term to soldier arms is actually used, and the guard is here to show, and that the weapon is always facing away from the tomb, that the guard is between the threat and the tomb. Another thing super cool at Arlington is the different wreath laying ceremonies at the tomb. So fortunately, my 8th grade year, I was able to lay a wreath at the tomb, and this is something special that not very many people get to experience. Like the president gets to do it on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And this was actually something that was super, super exciting for me personally. And it actually changed my whole view on this. And it was super interesting. This is kind of where it like sparked, because I got to go down into the bunker underneath where the guards live. And I actually got to talk to Sergeant Ruth Hayes, who was the first woman to be able to guard the Tomb of the Unknown. So this was really just something that sparked my interest in Arlington as a whole. So to gather everything, or to wrap everything up, Arlington is somewhere that you should definitely visit, but it is somewhere that shouldn't be more of like a touristy attraction. It definitely needs to be somber and just to honor and remember those who have passed before us, so that we can live the lives that we live today. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
So were the vibes, I've never even heard of it. Were the vibes there like kind of like September 11th, like ground zero, like just everybody's quiet and.
Yeah, so come on, I need to drink real quick. So it's right outside of DC, and it's just, like I said, it's a huge cemetery. It's like 400,000 soldiers. And so yeah, it's always, you're supposed to be quiet, especially at the Tomb of the Unknown. I know on my 8th grade trip, when we went, there was a group of kids who went in just before us, and they had been like loud or rowdy, and the guards actually yelled at them, and they got kicked out, and they're like not allowed to go back. So it's very serious, but it's something that everyone should go and experience.
That's cool. Not cool that they passed, but
But yeah, it's just cool that you can remember it, and that we can, honor those. So.